Thanks, Ceann Comhairle, sharing at 50-50. Minister, yesterday at the Justice Committee you talked about things that the Internal Security Fund would go towards, things like automatic facial recognition, information sharing between EU states, advanced security at airports, surveillance and so on, the types of things that actually should send a shiver down the spine of anybody who gives a hoot about civil liberties. You went on to actually talk about how keen you were that we would play a full role in that sort of stuff. You described it as being the best practice in the war against terror. Well, I have to break it to you, Minister, but actually this kind of civil liberties trampling, security lunacy is the terror that we should be at war at, because none of this nonsense is making any of us safer since the Americans invented the concept 20 years ago. Instead, in actual fact, it's made us vastly more insecure, more frightened and more uneasy. It has killed hundreds of thousands of desperate refugees in the Mediterranean and invaded the private spaces and private lives of innocent citizens across the bloc. Between 2014 and 2020, just under 11 billion was spent on security across the EU, 6.9 billion between the Internal Security Fund and the Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund, the latter of which inevitably, given the EU's weaponised racism, falls under the security heading, 1.7 billion to the European Security Research Project and some 2.4 billion for EU Home Affairs agencies such as Europol and Frontex. And now the government wants us to give the nod to a doubling of the Internal Security Fund, and that's just the ISF. The EU's stated position is that it's going to double funding across the board on all its security programmes. Minister, this is completely and utterly ineffective. If you were really serious about combating terrorism, then the Western powers and the EU would stop backing those states which have wreaked war and destruction in the Middle East. I think it's absolutely reprehensible that we are here. This isn't a testament to our democracy, contrary to what Deputy O'Callaghan has said. The only reason we're even here discussing it is that we kicked after the committee today. Where are the so-called civil libertarians in the left-wing groups, in the Soc Dems and all the other areas? Nobody even pays attention to these issues. But you know what? In the years to come, when public money is being spent on the security industry, turning the weapons in, then when it's too late, people will wake up.